It's May 24th, 2023, and you know why we're here, so let's kick this off right and introduce the players. Hey, I'm Gerissar, a WoW esports aficionado.
Hey guys, I'm Bigmoran, a world PvP enthusiast.
Hey guys, it's TreesapJake here, and I'm a ranged caster in general.
Or general range caster.
Yeah, I've been changing up a little bit just because I've been playing a lot of ranged casters, and you know I'm not just a shaman enthusiast. I'm an enthusiast of all things that fire stuff from afar.
You got to get on that Destro train before it departs, man.
Oh, I've been getting on it. I have been.
Oh, good. Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
Every time I watch a Destro Warlock play, I'm like, man, this looks so fun. Like every button you press is just like boom, like 80k or like 100k. It's good times.
The trick though is being able to actually push a button and not get kicked and not die to the melee.
Hey, like 3 of your buttons are instant, and they all hit for 80k. So I think we're covered. Chaos Boulder, that's some old technology, you know. We cast, that's a filler spell these days.
Yeah. Don't need that.
We don't need that.
You just press other things that hit really hard. Instead, that's just how it works.
I don't know. No. I was doing skirms last night, and I was getting face pummeled by double warrior into double skirms. Of course, I was getting absolutely no help from the teammate, but that was hard. That's
how it works, though. I genuinely like Destro is really strong, and I've been playing it lots in like threes, which I think is the perfect place to play it. But you go into solo shuffle, teammates don't know how to help you.
No, this was skirms, man. This wasn't even solo shuffle. This is like
skirmishes are like the off-brand version of solo shuffle. You know, like that's the discount. You know, that's the discount section. Everything's 50% off. Even your partner's skill is 50% off too. You know, you never know what you're gonna get.
It was funny. Exactly. Yeah. There's some good people I ran with actually, but So okay, Jake, what classes are you running right now? What are you playing right now in Arena?
So, I don't have a huge amount of time, but I'm currently basically enjoying my Warlock. So I've been playing a lot of Demo, and a lot of Destro, and then I've also been playing Balanced Druid, which has been interesting, that's for sure.
Okay, that's it. You're not playing your Ellie?
No, I haven't touched it yet. I have to be really careful with the amount of time that I've got, and I think the problem that I have as playing a caster is that there's a lot of classes that don't really have very good defenses, and I don't think Ellie is. I think Ellie's one of them where you've become a little bit less mobile, and you have like one defensive that you can't press while stunned. You can't really do much in. And that for me is in this meta, especially with Fury Warriors on the rise, just it's kind of very, very distressing. And I'm not a massive fan of that. Like I'd much rather have the flexibility. Like even playing Balanced Druid in comparison to Warlock, with Warlock I can port any danger, port away, done. I'm behind a pillar, I'm safe, and then I can decide whether I want to come back out or not. Or use Gate or anything like that, or use Dark Pact, or all these kind of fun things that kind of really help you stay on top and are just like very good buttons to press when you're in a bit of danger. Whereas with Ellie, I have like a minute and a half cooldown that I can't press while stunned, and even when I come out of it, I'm still getting chunked anyway. So I'm enjoying classes, I think, that just feel a bit better to play, at least from a caster point of view.
No, fair. I like it. Kind of sucks that that's where Ellie's at right now, is that you're having that feeling that it's more important to play something else, because I know how much you like that.
Yeah, right? I think it's still like a good class. Like there are still people that are doing really well on it, but it's just for me, I just don't know. I just don't really find it as fun as I have wanted to. I think it's in a really good place, and I think it's doing very well. But for me, it's just like I feel like I'm just fighting against
swimming upstream,
fighting against upstream. Yeah, exactly. So
that's I feel you. Big, what have you been playing? Because you're known for Resto Druid, but then you were trying to play Mage there for the while. you still working the mage, or what have you been doing season 2?
No, I've only been playing Resto Druid pretty much. I queued a decent amount of shuffles last week. Also, a lot of 2v2. I think probably that's what I'm going to do for the rest of the season. I'd like to actually push 2v2 this season. It's a slow and painful grind, but I typically enjoy it. Especially since they kind of, in a way, buffed Cyclone. So, with the CC reduction being removed from the trinket set bonus, Cyclone actually lasts longer these days. So I've been having a fun time pressing Cyclone in 2v2.
I understand. I think there's a few people that have been enjoying pressing Cyclone, or not enjoying having Cyclone being pressed on them. But
yeah, there's a weird like conversation I've seen like happening where people want to nerf Cyclone now, but I mean I have my own thoughts about that.
All right.
I think it's the clapback against the against CC. For me, like, you know what? It's so strange. We have so much micro CC. I was literally sitting in a shuffle today and I was thinking, God, I'd love to be able to play my character, because even with all the CC nerf, I feel like it's almost too much. Like I'm almost like at this point where it's kind of like I would much rather them give back longer CC chains, but take away all the micro stuff that you can do. So like, like, I mean, we've always had Mortal Coil, for example, but it's been like, okay, Coil, Stun, and Fear, right? Those are the three. But there's no, I don't want any Infernal Stuns. I don't need Pet Stun. I don't need any of this stuff. That's all this extra bits and pieces. I don't need Warrior Root. I don't need Warrior like Stun, Fear combo, like everything that just feels like, rogues have like 9 million stuns. It's kind of like, if you just brought it back so we can have the longer CC chain, like, okay, let's bring back the 6-7 second kidney shot, but kind of reduce the amount of CC that I'm getting out from other things. Like, as we said, like all this just sort of random micro CC that you get nowadays. It just feels so rough to play because you're just constantly in a sort of, I don't know, something is stopping you from playing your character, and it's just for a very short period of time, but they all seem to be able to kind of come together and do it.
There's like a lot of knockbacks too. You play against the Boomkin, playing what do you call that? The starbursts. You're getting knocked into the air randomly. Monks like Ring of Peace, if they hit it against a wall, it's like, what the hell is happening to my character? Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like the small little things are annoying because, like, especially as a caster, you generally have these like really small windows where you can actually like interact and cast. And like the worst thing in the world is, like, for instance, playing against a enhancement shaman. You have that really brief window where you can actually land a cast, and then they just sunder you, and then you're just stunned for 2 seconds randomly. And it's like, oh man, like I wish I could play the game.
Yeah, exactly. Like you just want to be able to do something, but it's not even the fact that it's like long CC. It's just the small. I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. Like everything's been nerfed. Yet I still feel as if I can't play my character. So what's the logic in that?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a very good question. I actually also have another topic to raise, and I just realized this today, and I was talking to a friend about it. So when you get Legend, it's slightly off topic from Micro CC, I apologize. But when you get Legend, so just talking about Arena in general, when you get Legend, right, you got the toy that came when they sort of brought that in, sort of
the pennant.
The patch. Yeah, it's not usable in the arena.
Yeah, I saw you tweet about that. What's
how
that?
stupid is that?
So,
like, you can have.
When can you use it then?
Yeah, outside. Anywhere else that isn't an instanced area.
Oh, because it's a toy, and because they disable toys from. Oh.
Well, no, there are some toys you can use in arena. Like all the Zoomers. Like, I know when I'm playing against like a Zoomer, because they just have like every toy buff, and then like the rainbows are shooting out of their hands, like in the middle of fireworks are going off. Like there's definitely toys that are usable in arena. I think this isn't the first time where I think they've had like an arena specific reward that hasn't been usable in arena. I think there was a pennant reward, I believe, in like WoD or something. I don't remember. And I think that as well was not usable in arena, which is kind of ironic.
It's just silly.
That is silly. That is actually silly. Yeah. Okay. So for the Blizzard devs that don't listen to us, Yeah, you should fix that.
100%. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Like, you have multiple different pennants coming in,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone else that gets gladiator is able to obviously show off their mount and everything like that. Why can't people that get legend show off their their pennant toy?
Yeah,
just be like, okay, yeah, this is the flag that I got. Let us use it. It's not massively game breaking. It's just a little toy. Be interesting.
Well, I don't know. Maybe maybe you can drop orbs from Temple of Kotmogu if you pop a pennant on your back.
Yeah. Maybe that's what they figured. Maybe there's a bug in there and they just can't be bothered to fix it.
Well, yeah. Do you want to get into need, greed, and pass? Because I think that's a good segue. Because I'm kind of looking at what you wrote down there, and I think we should talk about this.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, this you read my mind.
All right, let's do it.
This likely won't be a clean fight, so keep your distance, Harry!
All right, let's get into this. Need, greed, and pass. Jake, you're the one that came up with it. What are the scenarios, buddy?
So, you know what? Speaking of legend, and the legend of the rent, that was not topical, but anyway, the thing with legend, right, is that there's a lot of chat about what you should get, right? Like there are people that go, you should get a mount, you should get this, like you want more rewards. And there's kind of the more traditionalists that go, you know what, it's not proper threes, it's a solo thing. You shouldn't get anything other than, just like a base title or something, or even just a tabard. So there's lots of differing opinions on this, on what, and depending on where you are on the kind of purist sort of level. And I think it'd be interesting to explore that. So the idea for today's Need Grid Pass is legend rewards. So the options are you get everything, like mount, a specific amount for legend, you get a title, you get a toy, you get a tabard, all of that comes with getting legend. The next option is the kind of middle point where just getting the title, you get a toy, you get a tabard, that usual stuff. No mount, just the kind of usual stuff that you would expect for something that isn't threes, like in the same way that you kind of get it for like twos. You get you get that sort of, you get the elite reward, and that's kind of it. And the other one is just kind of getting the tabard, kind of like all the other sort of, I say all the other kind of like twos, where you just get the tabard if you get elite. That's all you get for legend. You just get that, not even a title. So that's the option. So one is, very, very flexible, new age man, get the mount, get the title. Middle rank is just, title and toy. And the last one is just a tabard. It's like, it's not even a title. So ultra purist. There we go. Those are the options.
Okay, so I gotta jump right on this because I find it funny that we're trying to maximize or that people are trying to maximize the amount of rewards for a solo game mode. Yes, you're playing with other people, but there's no real interaction other than pushing a button and queuing into that arena. And maximize the amount of rewards you get from that in comparison to 3v3, while RBGs 10v10 get no attention.
No.
And that's just utterly frustrating.
Yeah.
So on that, I'm gonna say I think Solo Shuffle is great for getting people into playing PvP. I think it's great for allowing people to play without having to form teams and do all that networking that you need to do to get behind twos and threes. I think the reward is the CR, is the ladder climb, is that prestige, and is the ability to play. The fact that you get maybe a title off of it, the Crimson Solo Gladiator, and a pennant, a toy, I think is more than enough. I don't think it should change anything. I think that should be more than enough. And I agree. I would. So I'll lead on that, and I'll have to greed, I guess, on just the one up from that, which is okay. Here you go. Here's a tabard too, but completely pass on them getting a gladiator mount, getting a title, getting a toy, getting a tabard, getting enchantment, getting all that other stuff. No, they can They can go and do the hard work of getting together teammates, pushing the ladder together, and get that done. That's me.
Okay.
Hard no.
Alrighty.
Oh, in the
You know
meantime,
what?
then RBGs can get all the stuff that they should be getting, which is the mount, the title, the toy, the tabard, the enchantment, and maybe something else.
And the jammin'?
Mm-hmm. Especially the jammin'.
That's what I thought you said.
No.
You know what? I actually was not expecting that, Gerissar. I genuinely thought you'd be going along a different line, but I actually appreciate that. That's fair enough. And Big, what do you think? What's your thoughts?
I generally like rewards. I would probably make it a bit more granular, where you would have the mount as the legend reward, and then maybe the toy as the reward for, let's say, 1800 in Solo Shuffle. I think giving sort of incremental cosmetic rewards in a bracket is probably a good thing. I mean, I understand Gerissar's frustration for one. I think certainly there needs to be more attention to group content. Specifically, RBGs have been sort of on the neglected side for a while now. I just think Solo Shuffle is too replayable and too accessible to prioritize any other system at the moment. I think there is somewhere in there. There's a conversation like, oh, is Solo Shuffle a good thing for the game overall? I think that's its own conversation. For the meantime, I'm going to make the assumption that the answer to that question is yes, and based on that, I'm going to say that more rewards are better. So, mount, title, and toy. If that can be a bit granular, I think that's ideal. I honestly don't care about titles and toys that much, so I'm gonna actually greed on just the tabard. I think the gear cosmetics are way more enticing than titles and toys, at least from my perspective. I've always liked the seasonal tabards, even when they're just crappy. Maybe they could do a better job making seasonal tabards. So then I'm gonna pass on the title and toy. So I'm kind of in a weird order. Need all three rewards, greed just the tabard, and pass on just the title and toy.
Okay. Interesting that. You know what? I'm so I think for me, and this is the only reason why I think this is the case. I would normally go along the same line as Gerissar, really. Like I would be 100% should just be title toy. That's more than enough. I think that would be good. And the reason why I don't think that is because I think I agree with Big as well. Is that the aesthetic parts of it is the reason why we grind rewards. It's why we work so hard, is because we have something to earn, not just the CR. We're not like all sort of at rank 1 level. We're not all there kind of fighting for like 5 CR to say who's better. Like we're there for the cosmetic rewards. We're there to kind of run around and go, I've got this mount. This is because of my hard work and I've done well. So I think personally, what I would go for is I would love for them to be making legend specific stuff. Though, for example, I would like to see like a flying mount, a flying gladiator mount for 3v3. And then for legend and potentially even 2v2 if they decide to. But I personally don't think it's necessary nowadays. But at least for legend, seeing as Solo Shuffle is the next big one, they should give a ground mount in particular, and they should give a reshade of it for RBGs. So RBGs gets their own mount, Solo Shuffle gets their own mount, and it's all a reshade of the same things, and they kind of do that going forwards, but with the flying map being 3v3. Now, why I think that would be good is because it incentivizes you still to go for threes, because you want that flying mount, and that flying mount looks cool, but the ground mount is still dope, and you can still get something cool from grinding out Solo Shuffle and doing legend and everything, as well as even doing RBGs. And so all of the modes have a sort of like a specific mount which looks cool, that is individual, and therefore drives interaction with all three of them. And then twos is your kind of sort of like chill out, want to play with a friend, cap, that sort of thing, bracket, as it kind of always has been. So for me, I'm going to need on everything. So that's going to be my need. I'm then going to greed just the title and the toy, because I think it's actually really good where it is. obviously without my ideal situation being a thing. And I'm going to pass on just a tabard because although I like the tabard, you can get that in pretty much any other bracket. And I think for Legend in particular, I would like something a little bit more, seeing as it's basically Gladiator Grind 2.0.
Cool. Does that mean you want to get rid of vicious saddles then? Since you get vicious saddle from anything, if you want to individualize each bracket a ground mount.
No, I still think that the vicious saddle is good. Like it's a good casual award, but for stuff like Legend and stuff like Hota, you know, you should get.
So you're putting the ground mount only at the top 1%.
I think. Well, it depends. I think RBGs. I don't know. They don't. Nothing exists for RBGs.
Yeah.
That in that same way. Like if they brought in Guardian of the Horde or Guardian of the Alliance again, that would be a really cool thing because that Guardian is basically like top 1% or something like that. And if they brought that in as a title, and it's kind of like, okay, yeah, you've got to grind out sort of like 25 wins over 2,400 in RBGs, which I think is more than enough. Seeing as it's quite a lot. Then you got the ground mount, and then obviously you still had Hero of the Alliance or Crimson Hero of the Alliance, Obsidian Hero of the Alliance, something like that for rank 1. Then I think that would be a really cool system. I don't think it'd be hard to do, and I think it would drive a huge amount of interaction.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it would. Sorry, go big.
I think the reason why RBGs kind of dipped in popularity over the years is not necessarily because of the rewards, but in the past, it was a necessity to play RBGs. I believe it was in Mists of Pandaria. You could not cap your conquest unless you played. I think you needed to play 2 or 3 RBGs. I don't remember. So I think even though that might have been a bit controversial at the time, I think that was the healthiest thing for RBGs because the brackets were active due to this feature. So I think if RBGs need anything, it's people being required to play them. And you know that I know that might be a hard sell to a lot of people, but I mean, I always thought RBGs were incredibly fun, and I can see why people might not want to do them. But I think the best way to get activity in that bracket is to require it. And I think we've seen something kind of similar happen this season already, where conquest rewards from Solo Shuffle have been dramatically nerfed, and rewards from 2v2 and 3v3 have been buffed. And what we're seeing, if you go to Drustfar and you look at the activity tab, there are more 2v2 games being played every day than there are 3v3 games, which was definitely not the case last season. Last season, 3v3 activity dwarfed 2v2, and Solo Shuffle activity kind of dwarfs everything. But just that single change of readjusting rewards distribution had a pretty significant effect on what bracket people are deciding to play. So if we wanted to get people in the door in RBGs, I think we would have to somehow necessitate it that way.
I think I agree. I think you definitely need to like drive some interaction. I just think like if there was an opportunity for people to get stuff from there, you'd find more people doing it. Like the interaction in Solo Shuffle is huge. And although you can get Legend title, like I wouldn't have bothered with Solo Shuffle if I couldn't get a title from it. Like I wouldn't bothered. Like what would be the point? It's like like an easier title, like other than rank 1. Like I'm not going for rank 1. But if I couldn't get a title from it, I wouldn't have bothered doing Legend. I wouldn't have pushed to like 3.1k in Solo Shuffle. I wouldn't have pushed as high as I did because I wouldn't have felt like I needed to. Like I got my 2-4, that was it, done. I don't need to do anything. I can focus on 3s, for example. Like I think having a reward that's tangible and kind of like, okay, yeah, you want to push 2-4 in RBGs and do the 25 wins and get this really cool mount, which probably because of the interaction is quite low and therefore will be quite a special mount. People will probably do it more. That's what I think anyway. It'd definitely be interesting if they did that. But I just think the problem with Blizzard at the minute is that they're not really wanting to do that. I think I don't think they're willing to make those changes because it's a real shame.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing. Like, why are people playing PvP? Why are they doing these brackets? And it seems to be foremost, it's just to they do enough to get cap on conquest to buy the gear, right? And then they push rating to get the elitist set, and they might push rating to get the gladiator mount if they can get that high. There's these, like you said, there's those stepping stones. I think like season 1 definitely had the highest interaction on solo because that was the best way to earn points. And I think that's back to what Big was saying, that RBGs were definitely played more because they were the easiest way to get cap on honor and conquest. Because I think they said 2 or 3 wins and you're capped out pretty much for the week. Right.
Well,
the rest
no,
of it was,
I mean what I was saying is back in the day, you could not cap your weekly conquest unless you played.
Yeah.
I believe it was 2 RBGs. I don't remember the exact number. You needed to play RBGs.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Which is different than what I was just saying. But yeah, you're right. I guess this leans back to the what would we like to see the devs do as carrots for people to continue playing and pushing rating versus just playing it for the points, or and rewards along the way, or is it everything rewarded at the very end for those elites, those people that are able to get to those highest of of the brackets? I think that's a different question, almost a different conversation on its own.
Yeah, it is. You could talk for days about that sort of thing. So
yeah, we could.
Literally.
I just think right now WoW is in a very weird transitionary period because the game is so old and is so fundamentally based around group content that for people like us who have been playing the game for a really long time, we have no qualms with group content. But if you look at sort of the interactions that were happening on Twitter, on the forums, when people discovered that you could only continue the campaign by completing a normal raid, you have to defeat the last boss, which is not accessible through LFR right now. People are freaking out. They're like, oh, I have to suddenly do a normal raid? Are you is this a joke? And I mean, for me, I hear people say that. I'm like, are you kidding me? Just go do the normal raid. I mean, I know why people don't want to do it, and because I think in many ways WoW has sort of become a bit more antisocial over the years. I mean, there's certainly social content, but there's now more possibility to play solo content.
Yeah.
And so I just think WoW is in this really weird state where you have the old mentality of let's group up, do stuff together, and then you have this new player base who doesn't want to do that. And I think that's created a whole bunch of unintentional issues and sort of tensions. Probably on the development side, it's very confusing. It's like, oh, how do we design our content, right?
Well, yeah.
And
you can't design it for everybody when you have people that are soloists and you have groupists.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I see both perspectives, and I think RBGs right now are just, maybe people don't want to get in a group with other people, and I understand that, but I think they should give it a try. I think there should be a little push, hey, go do it. It's they won't hurt you, right?
Well, arguably, I think there's been a bunch of people that have tried RBGs and felt slighted or distasted the outcome of that interaction with some of the RBG community.
They are a bit of it takes a certain personality type to be an RBG leader, right? And I don't. It's not always a sugar-coated experience for sure. You get a lot of interesting characters.
I mean, you say the same thing about some raid leaders, but I think it's just there's so many more raid leaders that the bad ones get diluted out.
Yeah, it's a strength in numbers, right? But yeah, I was just thinking, to this conversation about people being nervous to do normal raids. I was like, when I was 13 years old, I was pulling trash in Black Temple. I had my guild put a lot of trust into me as a little kid, and I was like, oh my god, I was scared as hell, but I still did it, and I think that's a good experience for people to be in coordinated content and maybe feel a bit uncomfortable. It's because it's fun, you know. You get used to it.
Arguably, though, there's people that use this to escape and not have to feel pressure. Right, they're playing the game to get away from the pressures of real life. So that pressure, that anxiety, that uncomfortable feeling is too much for them in a video game where they don't want to do that. And I think that's the reason why LFR exists. But arguably, I mean, LFR, the final wing is going to open. They're going to be able to get to kill the boss. They're going to be able to get to that last cutscene and be able to progress the storyline if they want to. They just have to wait. That's all. It else comes down to the immediate gratifications issues that we're having right now in society.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that's another part of the game where we're kind of at a weird transition point where us old school players are used to waiting for things for a very, very long time, you know, like doing daily reputation grinds to unlock, you know, a faction mount, you know, things like this, which took months. You know, I remember, again, back to my childhood, being like 13 years old, doing the dailies around Terracar Forest so I could get like some stupid mount, and it took like 2 months.
Yep.
It was a long grind.
And I bet you don't ride that mount anymore, do you?
No, I don't.
How about you, Jake? Did you do any 2-month grinds in TBC for a mount that you no longer ride?
You know what? I was, how old was I? I would have been sort of 13. When I was 13, I remember I got my Tauren Warrior to 40, and I remember grinding the levels in Strangleform Vale to get to 40.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how I got to 40, and I got my mount, and that's what I did. And then in TBC, I sort of I played with a friend, but I didn't really do too much. Like I barely played the game really, because I was sort of in between going to schools and I was at boarding school and everything. And then it was in Wrath when DK's released that I decided to level. I was like, you know what, I want to play a DK, and I got my my warrior to level 55, and that was a lot for me back then. And when I got to my level 55, I was finally able to make my DK, and that was my first end game character in Wrath. I got my level 80 DK, and that was it. And that was kind of where I got to.
Nice.
But yeah, I remember the grinds. Because no one had questy then. No one had anything to show you where the quests were. You didn't know which zones you were meant to go to. You just kind of did what you could.
Yep. Yeah. I remember. In Classic, I think I maxed out my last 2 levels trying to kill furbolgs in the that little tunnel at Winter Spring, just for rep, because I apparently thought I had to get exalted to, I can't remember what it was, some cloth pattern I think it was, but whatever. It is what I don't think actually I got to level 60. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm 60. I'm like, oh, and I still have to kill like another, I don't know how many more of these things because I'm not exalted yet. This is horrible. So
it's what's really interesting. I think this is the next level. Okay, this is the meta analysis of what we've been discussing. Is this need for instant gratification has spilled into the way people play WoW these days in PvP, where people these days, you know, if you play any solo shuffle, play any 2v2, play any bracket, will pop their offensive cooldowns the moment they connect on you. You know, they're instantly on you, pressing all their CDs. This is a very familiar experience for anyone playing Arena these days. And if you compare that to the old days, you go back and watch like old clips of PvP, it looks so slow. Like people are just like trying to set up kills very slowly, looking for that perfect moment. These days, people are like, bam, 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 bam. Like, I'm going to pop everything. Let's go.
Yeah.
And so I think like even in the way people play is kind of designed to be a bit instantly gratifying. You know, very tactile cooldowns. You know, you press and you're just suddenly owning, right? And so it's definitely the game. The game has changed over our lifetimes for sure.
Yes, it has. I'm just going to do this. I was going to do bump. Let's skip events and let's just get right into the subject and actually talk about season 2.
I'm going to light you up, sweet cheeks.
So I like this conversation, but I also think that it is pertinent that we actually talk about season 2 itself, and let's talk about. I think leading off of what you just said, Big. Let's get into talking about how the game's being played right now, because it is very bursty, right? Like it's all like, I feel like in BFA, especially because a lot of it was the Rogue Mage meta, so there's a lot of that setup, and it was all the 1, 2, 3 goes, and trying to find that the who can do it the best or the most perfect to get the kills, and wait till somebody screws up enough that you get that mismatch and you can kill somebody. Versus, I find like this meta is way burstier. And we were talking about it before. We were talking about how it's going to be more melee heavy, and we're starting to see that now. Sorry, we were talking originally it was going to be caster heavy, but now we're starting to see a little bit more melee heavy. So, uh, how do you feel about the burst right now? And is it really as coordinated as it was before, with like trying to really do setups with your teammates, or is that just a solo shuffle thing that you're talking about, where it's just gates open, run in, pop your Swifty your one shot macro, hit all your burst, and hope the thing dies, and if not, pray that somebody is going to keep you alive? Is that just a solo shuffle thing, or?
Well, solo shuffle is kind of all about momentum. I think momentum definitely carries in that bracket, which typically involves, popping your cooldowns early, and then specifically too, being able to avoid damage is really important these days. I think that's perhaps one of the reasons why warlocks have been a bit consistently strong is, they have teleport, right? They can instantly get out of the fight and take 0 damage for a little bit. I think that's like really important. And I just think like in solo shuffle, you just want to keep that damage rolling at all costs, and then sort of minimize how much damage your opponents are doing. So it's like everyone kind of winds up doing the same thing, like running around doing damage. I mean, there's CC, of course, like in the mix as well, but it's definitely not like a 3v3. Like 3v3 seems a bit more intentional with, everything is a bit more structured, at least from my experience.
That's definitely the same as me. Like it's kind of night and day. Like shuffle is chaos. You're like, you don't even know if anyone has got you back. Like I did a shuffle today where I think I went 1 and 5 on the bounce druid, and the reason why is just like every single time, I was trying to do what I can. Like I'm responding to goes, I'm doing all of this, I'm CCing and everything like that, and like there was one round where my healer just didn't trinket, just didn't heal me once, and I'm just dead. Like I've pressed all my defensives and I'm just dead through. So if they don't do that, then that's the problem.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, from a healer point of view, people tend to say that healing solo shuffle is like a miserable experience. I mean, I think people are a bit dramatic. I think healing solo shuffle is a bit stressful, of course. And I think there's this kind of like feeling that you're going to be blamed for losses, and I understand that might be a bit frustrating. Of course, people are like rude too. But honestly, I don't mind healing solo shuffle right now. Like it feels like I like the game to be fast, like the pacing to be really fast, so it feels really good. And actually, if I'm being perfectly honest, a lot of the games I was losing the first week of the season were due to mana. So the games are going on really long. Like I think most of my games are like over 50% dampening, and I was just losing on mana to like monks at like 60% dampening. So I don't think like the pace of the game is necessarily too bad for healers. I mean, you just have to be like laser focused. Like that's the only difference. You can't be a lazy healer these days. You have to just be like spamming your GCDs. So which is a bit different. Like, I think healers kind of want a very casual, like, oh, the health bar dipped. Let me top it back up, and I don't have to worry. But like in solo shuffle, health bars are dipping like crazy. It's like you're frantically pressing your buttons, and I personally like that. But I can see why other people not. Obviously, there's been a few outliers this season for damage, specifically enhancement shamans. but I think that's just a case of cooldown stacking going a bit too far with Doom Winds, Ascendance, Bloodlust, PI. Of course that character is going to do a lot of damage in that period of time. They have 4 cooldowns. So, yeah, I think it's, and there's definitely this season in particular, there's a few outliers on the DPS side of things that are noticeably S tier, and most things I think are A tier right now. And just having that small power advantage goes a long way in every single bracket at the minute.
Yeah. I wonder if those are outliers right now because people are still working on getting tier and getting all the max gear, because obviously not everybody, because of conquest caps, you can't have max gear yet. Is it that, or is it that those items they just happen, their tier set, or just the way their stat weights and their abilities are just making them outliers?
Well, what's interesting is enhancement shamans actually have one of the best tier sets this season, and
True.
so does Disc Priest, so does Mistweaver. Deshrolik tier set is kind of useless. Their tier set is based around Channel Demon Fire, which I don't think you really press. So what's interesting?
We might, if it changes the gameplay, right?
Yeah, but what the point being is that the classes that are already good have really good tier sets. Like Subrogue, for instance, has, I think, arguably one of the best, if not the best tier set. So yeah, I think it's just, I don't know what they did. They did a lot to enhancement shaman damage in the 10.1 patch. I don't remember exactly what they changed, but I think there was like a laundry list of buffs to different parts of their damage toolkit. So I think that probably had a pretty significant effect. And plus, I'm sure like a lot of the reasons why tuning can seem so whack at the beginning of a season is because potentially the classes are balanced around like fully geared characters. Maybe that, like when Blizzard is doing their internal testing, maybe they're using like fully geared season 2 characters. So that's maybe why things can feel a bit weird, but I don't know. I don't know how the internals of that work whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming that the season itself and everything is based off of max gearing, and then there's always that tumultuous first couple weeks until everybody stabilizes and gets gear, and then they'll be like, okay, yeah, clearly that
I think it's 100% that. I think you're right. I think a lot of it is balanced based off of already geared characters. Like, I mean, most of PTR testing is with full gear, right? So, I mean, why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't most of it basically be based off of that? Like, it just makes sense to me, right? Because that's why I think it always feels super, super weird when certain classes do nothing and then suddenly like, oh, okay, actually, you know what? They do loads of damage. And it's kind of like, oh, okay, they just needed gear, basically.
Yeah. Clearly, all you need to do is just stack more mastery, and then you're good, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's of course like some bugs at the beginning of the season, like Ignite for fire mages was bugged. I saw a screenshot of an Ignite tick for 300k somehow, So that was a bit janky, and it seems like they've fixed Ignite. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if there was some enhancement shaman bug. Like if I've seen the clips, I'm sure you guys have seen the Twitch clips of like enhancement shamans going Terminator mode, just like one-shotting one person, one-shotting the next person, like boom, 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 and it's a bit wacky. And I just think maybe we have a situation where there's too much haste, and the haste is having unintended consequences. Like I believe it was haste was buffing devastation evoker damage a bit too much, I think, last season with fire breath, and so you'd have all these evokers just one-shotting people with priests on their team. Priests press PI on an evoker, like, okay, here it comes. He brace for the one shot, and maybe that's what's happening this season with enhancement shamans. I don't know.
It's entirely possible. I think what's very telling is it's always interesting because the enhanced shamans also complain a lot about on Twitter. It's very, I honestly, like, it's really interesting because you can tell when like certain classes are just so incredibly biased. I think warriors and enhanced shamans probably some of the most biased ones, because as soon as there's anything wrong with any of those specs, the warriors are out so loud, screaming into the abyss, hoping that someone would hear them and that the devs do something about it. And it's the same with enhanced shamans. Genuinely, it's sort of going, but when they're busted, you hear nothing, not a peep.
Yeah,
You don't
they're
see
fine.
a single
They're fine.
thing.
Of course not. Would you complain about your class being busted? Of course not.
I've recognized that when Ellie was like in a really sort of like crazy bonkers good place, I was like, this is too much.
Mm-hmm.
This is very, very insane.
I guess you're one of a kind, Jake. You're one of. I mean, out of a lot, when you're looking at a lot of the top tier players, the ones that we all follow, we watch their guides and we listen to them, and they're the ones that kind of spout out into the social media about the state of the game and things. Generally, I find it's only a few of them that will actually announce when they feel that their spec of choice, their favorite spec, is beyond busted. The rest of them usually will decry anything else that they feel is busted until they're top tier and able to one shot it or take out everybody, 1v1 everything. Right?
Yeah.
Like rogues didn't cry anything until they weren't able to 1v1 everything.
Yeah. And they still can.
Oh, hey, Mortai's in chat.
Oh yeah. Is he a rogue now?
He was. Then he was a hunter, and now he's a ret paladin.
Oh, you're wow. You're a few seasons behind and ahead at the same time, Mortai. Like you need to watch those tier lists to know playing ret paladin now. I don't think is the move. Maybe a few weeks ago. Right now, you got to get back on that rogue.
He's enjoying it.
And if you really want to be ahead of the game, if you use the technically PvP code and go sign up to Skill Capped,
you
can see every single one.
Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah, if you really want to stay ahead of the game, just use the technically PvP code.
It's in chat if you want. If you come see the Twitch VOD, you'll be able to see it there right there at this timestamp.
That way you can get access to all the greatest things planned by our very own Big.
Indeed. I'm sorry to call out Mortai like that. I just know, and he pointed out in chat. He said, "Yeah, when Sin was broken, he was saying it was broken." So, I just thought that was funny. We're talking about rogues, and I remember how much he loved talking about rogues. All right, so our solo shuffle. I think we've talked about that enough. I guess in that way, talking about, we kind of talked about arena and how, it's a bit of a different game. I mean, obviously it's more coordinated play. You're not feeling as alone and just trying to make your way and try to read what your other teammates are doing. Your teammates are talking to you. You're doing a lot of other stuff there. But how does that feel for you guys? Because honestly, I haven't played any 2s or 3s this season yet. Like I said, I only did the skirms there a little bit, and that was because I was trying to get my feel for Destro Lock again. Just after reset on Tuesday. So I throw it back to you guys. Jake, how's 2s or 3s feeling for you?
So I've only done a little bit of 2s. I've done more 3s, and I can say with a surety that 2s feels exactly the same way that it's always felt. I think there are definitely some things that are new, like you see a lot of balanced druid resto shaman now, which is really interesting. It just loses to every team with a MS effect, which is basically the kind of 2s sort of ranking, really. Like if you've got an MS effect, you'll do well in 2s because of the dampening and just how it works. So I've been doing all right as demo. So it's been very interesting to kind of see that matchup, and you just kind of work people down until they die. Especially if they don't have an MS effect, as I said. 3s has been interesting. Like I've done a lot of 3s, and I've actually been playing. So I've played DH Boomkin, and I've played Mage Lock, and I've also played Boomkin Lock as well. And I can say I enjoy all of them. I think 3s feels okay. There's just certain comps, like that will have just like a really busted spec in. Like, I think Turbo is probably one of the most disgusting comps to queue into, because Fury Warriors now being back makes me incredibly sad, and they are bonkers with their uptime. And then obviously Enhanced Shaman damage is huge. So it's definitely going to be another standard season of, okay, there's going to be a few classes that are just kind of beyond busted, kind of like how Asa Rogue was and how Ret Paladins were, until basically I think until Blizzard really nerfs them. So, and that's just what's going to happen.
All right.
But threes is fun. I'm enjoying it.
I think that's the thing, is threes are usually fun, unless you're trying to play like some like super off the wall comp with like D tier, then it's not so fun. But even then, it can still be kind of fun, because usually when you're doing that, you have like some sort of like gimmicky one shot or something like that, and when it goes off, it's just wacky fun.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I did in Shadowlands with I played Boomkin Frost DK. And how Devastation Evoker Frost DK works now is exactly how we kind of did it, which is my root beam, my druid would root beam the healer, we'd grip in, we're sort of blind. My druid would root beam the healer, and we just like stun them and blast them in the silence, and they'd usually die. Like, it's that sort of thing is kind of useless outside of its 1 minute go, but it's fun.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm sure it wasn't so fun for the other people.
They hated it probably.
Yeah, it's always fun to be in the winner. Big, what about you? Thoughts and feels on Arena right now?
Yeah, so I'm the exact opposite of Jake. I've been playing almost entirely 2v2 for Arena. Actually, I don't think I've played a single 3v3 game. I've just been doing solo shuffle and twos. I mean, yeah, as Jake said, twos is the same sort of bracket it's always been, and I don't want to say it's rock, paper, scissors, because I typically don't agree that there are matchups that are, more than 60-40. I think most things are probably closer to 50-50 in 2v2 at a certain level. But I think twos is really fun right now, just because the pacing of the game is really fast. Like, they changed dampening, so 2v2 games are typically really quick. I mean, I think my longest game this season so far has been like 5 minutes maybe, which for me is perfect. And yeah, I mean, there's just the elephant in the room is that Sub Rogue is really, really good in 2v2. And I can understand why people wouldn't like playing against Sub Rogue. So for full disclosure, I play Resto Druid Sub Rogue in twos. And I mean, yeah, it's fun. It's the same as it's always been. You have to play a very specific way, very evasive oriented, very, play to not die, and I've always enjoyed that. So I recommend, especially if you play a more meta spec this season, give 2v2 a shot for sure.
Okay. I think that's the way twos has always been. I'm just wondering, with the state of Warlock, I wonder if I have to still play with a healer, or if I can play with like a...
You can play with a lot of different things as a Destro Warlock. Like, I was watching my friend's stream, Destro Warlock Sub Rogue in twos.
Oh, really?
And the Rogue is playing a super one-shotty build. And so basically what would happen is they'd get someone's trinket in the opener with essentially Destro Warlock damage and a little bit of Rogue damage. And then once they got that trinket, the Rogue would just solo the game when DR is reset with everything. But you can also play like with a Shadow Priest. I think that's coming back this season, is Shadow Priest plus, Mage plus Warlock. I think you can play a lot of that this season.
Okay.
But none of this applies to Affliction, by the way. I would probably advise against playing Affliction. Destro and Demo only. And I think, it looks fun. It can be a bit stressful, but if you have like a really good sub rogue on your team who wants to do the one shot, I think you can go a long way with just that single strategy.
All right. I need to convince Mortai to get off of his Ret Paladin and go sub rogue again.
No, he just needs to get he needs to get whatever that one shot macro is these sub rogues are using. He needs to get that build, because it's deadly. It's crazy. Like, if you trinket, that's the thing with that's the thing that I think frustrates people with sub rogues. If you trinket the wrong thing, you're just dead. And they really execution test you. You got to be really aware of what's going on and make all the right plays, and you will not die. But if you make any mistake, they're like sharks in the water. They're just fishing for. They smell that blood, and then they go in and they capitalize off it. So yeah,
well, I think that's like any game, right? Like any game of strategy, that happens. If you make the mistake, then it just becomes sharks in the water circling.
With rogues it's different though, right? It has that extra like element. Like they're like a deadly assassin who's coming to take you out, right? And they're waiting for you to slip up. They're licking their lips, and so that's how it feels playing against sub rogues right now in 2v2, is they're just waiting for that moment, and so you have to be really careful.
All right, there you go. I probably won't do it, but hey, that sounds juicy but stressful at the same time. I will say for BGs have been fun. I was actually doing them as Vengeance DH as going into there and doing that. I don't know if you guys saw, there was the one though. I was asking people because Winter Grasp. I've had the dickens of a time trying to win a Winter Grasp as the attacker. Like almost never won it. And I have to give a quick shout out because I got some good traction and responses over on Twitter. But then Evine, they DM'd me afterwards on Discord, and we were like going back and forth a bit, and they're telling me, hey, so little did I know, I didn't even know this. Did you know that you could buy gliders off of the vendors right at the starting area when you start Winter Grasp?
No.
Yeah.
No idea.
Apparently there's a vendor there, so you get your gliders there, and then instead of what doing everybody is mounting up and running across the bridge and then down over the side heading to Sunken Ring, you can just short of the bridge to the right. There's a mound there, and you can jump off there and glider across, and it greatly reduces the time frame. And then once you get before you actually drop down into Sunken Ring, you get a rogue to stealth everybody and then you can get down there, and then apparently that it just becomes, well, obviously then it's a big scrum of a team fight, but at least you're right in there, versus I find otherwise it becomes a straggling line of people snaking it, and then they just pick you off as you come in. So but I haven't actually done that strategy, but I will say we did something very similar. I did one, and a bunch of people were running off. This is before I talked to Evine, and they had all done it, and we won. We actually won, which was glorious. It felt great. And then otherwise, I'd say the rest of the BGs all feel the same. I did an AV where we just passed by, and it was the first team to, nobody backcapped or anything. The first team to kill the boss at the end won. And then we did another one where I was on the Alliance, and the Horde came back and completely took back almost all of our bases and towers, and it became a giant turtle fest, which was again just as much fun. I think that was probably actually more fun because there was a bunch of pushback. Like we got past the bunker and got the graveyard, and then it became kind of mayhem trying to figure out where we're going, and then all of a sudden the Horde came back and pushed us all back, and then it became that pathway trying that little bottleneck spot. So yeah, that was fun. Otherwise, I don't know. Have you guys done any random VGs or anything like that?
I've been doing the weekly for the Epic BG.
Okay.
I think that quest has happened twice now, 2 consecutive weeks. I had the same experience with AV, where one game we just both factions just ran completely to the opposite team's base, and then it became a race to see, wait for that second tower to fall, and then everyone goes in, right? I like those AVs where it's just really short, to be honest. I queued a lot of Ashran actually, and
Really?
yeah, and these days, I mean, I don't know if I just haven't queued Ashran in a while, but it feels kind of, I don't want to say boring, but it's like It just feels like a massive stalemate for most of the game.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's how it typically is, but it seems like both teams are kind of pushing mid, and then there's the side objectives, and you kind of care about them, but not really. Like you go to the ogres, get the stuff to turn in to summon the boss, and I feel like no one really knows what they're doing, and I quite frankly like I don't know what I'm doing either. But I just remember that's like different than my memory of Ashran, where people kind of just ran around the map doing different things. I don't know if that's just a modern way to play Ashran, where you're just kind of fighting in mid the whole time, but it felt a bit weird because the games are so long. I was like, oh my god, when is this gonna end? And it seemed impossible to like kill the final boss. Like I did it one
Mhm.
time. It doesn't seem like matches really get to that point these days.
I think today's Ash round is much different. I find like a lot of the side objectives, you're right, are ignored. A lot of people run to the ogre first because the first person, first team that kills the ogres are the first team that gets their defensive linebacker first.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think, and then after that, I think it's just nobody really goes for the boss kill. It's just trying to kill enough of the enemy team to get to the first to 0 wins, right? So
I did see a Twitch clip of a Devastation Evoker getting the orb buff, and that was pretty funny because they were basically one-shotting people with their deep breath. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. Like I would want an Evoker to have that buff, because they have some crazy AoE damage. But I
yeah.
didn't see anyone with with the orb in my time playing Ashran. I don't remember anyone even having it, so I don't know what's that about.
Maybe they didn't know whether they just thought they had to kill the ogres and that was it. And ran away. Honestly, I don't even know how to play Ashran anymore. I just follow the group and try to kill the enemy team and just whatever. I want to find out. Lithy needs to get us get us to know the who these Russian people are. Because apparently he ran into some Russian gamers and they had he won in a few minutes. So we need to figure that out. Lithy needs to hook us up. I think that's what we need. Learn those strats. How big?
Yeah.
Sorry, not big. Sorry, Jake. How about you? You done any BGs?
Well, I was actually going to say that I have discovered something that if you're doing epic BGs, if you're playing as Horde, you're going to lose all the time.
That's not true.
It is. I did so many Ashrans, we just died all the time. It was awful. Like genuinely, as soon as I started race changing, and it's the same with random BGs as well. As soon as I changed back to Alliance, we won every single game. It was insane. That is my experience of doing it. I'm like, it's just insane. I just like all my friends had the same thing. Like a lot of my friends were Horde. Okay, went in Alliance. Horde were losing all the time. Epic BGs, it's awful, absolutely disgusting. Any like Ashran, any sort of Art of Conquest, always losing. As soon as I go Alliance, won every single one. It's mental, and that's
Interesting.
always been my experience. Just I don't know. It's just more people in Alliance.
That's it, because where I've been playing it, I feel like it's more horde centric, and a lot of the people, or a lot of times I'm playing, I'd say, especially on the epics, I'd say it's almost 40-60, 40 win to 60 loss. But I find like a lot of the time, it feels like people are just there just to get the honor. They don't really care about actually winning the objectives. They're just waiting for it to tick through, because on the Alliance side, our queues are so short that they don't care. They don't really bother because they can do nothing and queue one more rather than try to push and win and do it in 2. You know what I mean? So that's how it feels. I will say though that there's times though. Like you said, there's been nights where I win 2 in a row, and there's been nights where I win 0-2, and whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah, I think it's definitely like I definitely don't. It's obviously I don't think NA is quite the same as EU sometimes. Like I think there's
True.
slightly more Horde on their nay, and therefore you have a bit more of a sort of a bit more of that kind of advantage there. I don't know. That's my experience, and maybe it's recently, but I've just had the worst of times queuing up as Horde BGs. It's just been bad. So that's just that. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming to my TED talk, but that's all I've got to say on that one. Basically, it's just random BGs are okay, but it's just
Can you still do mercenary mode? Is that still a thing? I haven't.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Oh,
nice.
shoot. Yeah, because in random BGs, it's still very Horde versus Alliance. So, but in order to go Merc mode, you have to be on the side with the surplus of players queuing.
Okay.
If I'm not
And
mistaken.
yeah, in NA, that's probably Horde.
Yeah.
I think Horde is more popular than Alliance overall.
It is. But yeah. Okay. All right. Elephant in the room. It's 2 seasons now of PvE tier set. Thoughts?
I mean, if I can jump in and say, I think it's a joke, really. I think realistically speaking, they should be able to come up with a PvP tier set that has the right stats on and is not as impactful. Just it can be as simple as a slight damage increase or a slight, sort of lengthen to something or shorten or something that's good, like a PvP inclusive thing. Even if it is just tier, like regular PvE tier, just allow us to change the stats on it. It's bonkers. It really is at this stage. Just almost kind of like just a bit ridiculous, really, more than anything. So I think personally they should just do more. Like it's not acceptable at this stage.
Why do you think they're not doing it? Why do you think they're so hard set about not making PvP tier?
I think realistically speaking, the reason why they are so keen on doing it is because they don't have the staff for PvP. They didn't have enough time, and because they didn't have enough time, they thought, well, I'm not going to do it. Yeah, resources, everything. Like it's just they didn't have enough time to get people in to make the things that they felt like they needed to do it, and therefore they wouldn't do it. I understand that. I get that. If you're unable to give the product, don't do it. Don't do it half-assed, because like half the actual sort of like a sort of really poo version of the PvP tier set would just make everyone really upset. I'd much rather have the PvE version. So
yeah, I think the best solution would be disabling the tier set bonus in PvP and not having a PvP set bonus. I know people are talking about like potentially a PvP set bonus could include having an extra PvP talent or something from a 4 set. And I don't know, I think tier sets I think are a bit fun in some way because, for instance, like this week I completed my 2 set and I know that my character is going to be stronger and I like that feeling. But at the same time, I didn't like the feeling I had last week where I was like, man, I wish I had my 2 set, I think in the initial gearing process, it's a bit frustrating because right now there's people with 4 set from, heroic and even mythic raids playing arena. And you might queue into someone and you're like, oh my god, that person's doing so much damage. Like, why? And it's so they just have their tier set and you don't. And I think that's a bit frustrating. I think the solution would be to just disable tier sets entirely, because I do think it just creates some sort of hurdles and some frustrations in the initial gearing process. And as we mentioned earlier, like some of the tier sets this season are just utterly useless in PvP. Like Resto Shamans, their tier set revolves around healing rain, which you typically do not press for multiple reasons. And so I know for a fact that I think Resto Shamans this season are going to be playing without their tier set entirely, which feels a bit weird when everyone else kind of is. And then I mean, the other thing too is, yeah, if they added a PvP tier set bonus, I think it'd just be more complicated things to balance, and I'd rather just have things be a bit more. I would wish there'd be less knobs to tune. You know, if I was a developer, that would make a bit more sense to have less knobs. So my solution would be just disable them entirely.
Yeah. I like tier. I like the fact that it adds a new way to change up how you're playing your character. It changes a different nuance, because otherwise they'd have to be end up changing your spec tree every patch, every tier, right? That would be a little bit weird. I'm liking the PvE tier just because it reminds me a lot of the classic eras where, you know, there really wasn't a lot, like, PvP gear always had that. Yeah, you're able to bring in some PvE stuff, but there was a lot of broken trinkets and stuff with that. So in that way, I wish it didn't happen, but I do like a person who's able to play all aspects of the game would be able to have that higher gear set, that higher tuning to just get that extra percentage and really min max, which I think is kind of cool. So I'm not minding it. I think that the part that irks me is the fact that on the vault, even so, you only have 3 slots for PvP, and now tier is also taking up that, along with all the other PvP gear you could get. So that just gives you assuming that all the chances are equal, it really means that now you have, like, now you're trying to get 4, maybe 5 or 6 definite pieces on your first couple weeks, especially your weapon and that. It really feels bad. It feels really bad if the first 4 weeks of a season you get absolutely no tier from that and no weapon. That just sucks. Versus somebody who has the ability, has the time, and is willing to do, has the raid teams to do heroic raiding and do all the mythics, the plus 15s or whatever, to get that really high level gear, and then all of a sudden they're walking around with a 4 set, and you're scrounging. That kind of feels bad, especially in PvP, where it really is an arms race as much as it is a knowledge race. So I think I wish there was like a balance in there. But again, until they decide to bring the catalyst to start earlier for deterministic gearing, this mix match just kind of, that's the part that feels bad, I think, really. So honestly, I like PvP. I like having some PvE in PvP gearing wise. But I'm not sure if this is the way to do it, I guess, is really where I'm getting to.
I hate to be a conspiracy theorist, but I'm guessing this is just a case of follow the money. If I've learned anything from making content and having websites, is that you want people to be on your page for the longest period of time. You want that page view number to be up, and I'm assuming it's the same with game design too. You want people to be logged in your game for a long period of time. And so, like, they have this catalyst creation system, or I'm sorry, revival catalyst system that they invested a lot of money in, probably developing this. And they have PvP gear, and it's like, well, let's put 2 and 2 together. Let's have people stay logged in our game, because we can have them do all these little quests to convert their PvP gear into PvE gear. And so I think it's just another way to keep people logged in. Maybe. Plus, right? And I think they just want people out in the world too, running around on their mounts, doing stuff in the game they designed. They want to look pretty. So
that's true. I don't think any dev likes hearing about a PvPer that spent their whole time doing circles in Dalaran while queuing arenas and ignoring the rest of the world.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I'm not too bothered by tier. I'm just like, whatever. And I agree. I think it's fine to have PvE gear be good in PvP, for sure.
Mhm.
You know, I think if you're willing to do a mythic raid, if you have the skill set to do a mythic raid right now and get some ring that has 200 extra mastery, by God, like you should, that's your right. You earned that. I'm not gonna say that's unfair. So I don't mind if people are willing to do min-maxing in an MMO RPG and get an advantage because of it. Like that, I think is what defines an MMO, right? The ability
Right.
to min-max.
Exactly.
And I'm not bothered. I've seen enough PvE gear in my day that I am not bothered by some extra stats on a ring or something.
I don't think it's ever the stats, like an extra 200, whatever. It's the super broken trinket where you have like a 50k health shield. Like, 3/4 of your health, it becomes a shield around you on use.
Yeah.
And it's like a
Well,
2-minute on a 2-minute CD. Like, that's
I'm
the stuff.
happy I'm happy I did not play BFA because seeing how gearing worked in that expansion makes me like, oh my gosh, that Dragonflight is such a like so
Blessing.
massively better.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's funny how in BFA like Melee had all those trinkets, the bike, they shoot out a
Right?
motorcycle at you, they had some
Yep.
spike trinket.
Yep.
And those things did like half your health bar. You needed those things. Luckily we don't need those silly trinkets anymore. We have the medallion and the emblem and the insignia, which provide us a juicy stat bonus. We don't need those silly PvE trinkets.
That just
Definitely
reminded me. I have to go get. I have to figure out how to put precog onto my gear now. I forgot. So I can't just buy the trinket for it. Oh gosh.
It's easy. You just go to the crafting orders. The biggest thing right now is getting the sparks. You need to get those sparks. The bananas, as some people call them.
I need
They
the
look like
sparks. I
bananas.
need the shadow flame. I need the missives. I need. It's just bleh. All the stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
I have a video coming out about that tomorrow, by the way, Gerissar. So explaining exactly how the system works. So be sure to check that out. Stay subscribed.
I will. I will.
Drop it 9 a.m. tomorrow Pacific time.
9 a.m. Pacific.
Set your alarm.
All right. I'll make sure I click the little bell on the subscribe button too.
Thank
just for you.
Yeah.
Question. Have you guys gone out with World PvP on? How are you feeling it?
I always go out with World PvP on.
How's it feeling?
I haven't been ganked yet.
Oh,
I think they're all afraid of me.
It's funny. YouTube Reels or whatever, the short form content. I don't know if it's called Reels, whatever. YouTube Shorts.
Yeah.
I always get this YouTube short guy popping up. It's like a Draenei hunter, and he's always doing BGs or World PvP or something. And I'm alarmed by how many people fall for the classic hunter maneuver of knocking you off of cliffs. Like this guy will park his character AFK near a cliff, and then a warrior will start attacking him. He'll just stun, knock him off the cliff, and he just does this over and over. I'm like, how have people not realized this is what they're trying to do? You never follow someone with a knock to the edge of a cliff. Like what? You're just asking for it at that point.
Yeah.
I did my Sparks quest this week and it was so fast. I know.
Oh, yeah?
It was like in some area where it was right next to the graveyard and people just kept on respawning. It was the fastest I've ever done the Sparks quest. I got it done in like 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And I told you guys last week, I enjoy those Sparks quests.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun getting
Where is the Sparks quest this week? I haven't even loaded into it.
It's the same. Well, it was the same zone as Valdrakken. I don't know what that zone is called. Valdrassus? I don't remember the name of the zone.
Valdrassus, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. The place that people were world PvPing was so streamlined. It was a small little area too. It's what I think is funny, by the way, is on Tuesdays you go to. This is like a meme at this point to me. You know, when you go to like RBG or the LFG system and you go to an RBG group, you try to find an RBG group and it always has like hero-led RBG or rank
Yeah.
1-led RBG. And it's like, okay, there's probably a 50%, over 50% chance that this person's just lying.
Mm-hmm.
I saw in the group finder people saying like gladiator-led sparks. I'm like, oh my god, like we're doing, like we need to have a gladiator-led world PvP event. Come on, like who are you kidding? Like, come on.
Oh my
So
gosh. Oh my gosh. That's just. Is it World
that's a,
Gladiator? He got his World Gladiator title.
I
That's right.
guess I don't know, but yeah, I had someone recognize me this week. I always have fun when someone says, "Hey, it's Bigmoran." I'm like, "Hey, what's up? I'm gonna gank you. Watch out."
Clearly, you weren't on Prowl if they saw you.
Oh, I don't. I want people to know. I want my presence to be felt. You know.
Yeah, you want people to see the white of your eyes when you finally gank them.
Exactly.
Is it not the sap in his bark?
No, maybe the sap in his bark. Maybe the sap in his tree.
Yes.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe the Jake in his the sap in his Jake. Anyway,
just as long as it's not the cheese in his sandwich.
No.
That's oh my gosh. All right. I will say I have enjoyed some World PvP as well. Last week there it was I went out the World Quest with the quacks, with the ducks, where you get to ride the duck and knock people. That was fun.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. It's having some fun. And then I got whacked. I decided I was on my DH as Vengeance spec, and some ret showed up, and he had a buff on him where he's doing like 300% movement speed. I couldn't keep up to him. And even as a Vengeance Demon Hunter, I just couldn't. Like, he was impossible to track. It was all over the place. He didn't kill me.
Don't Vengeance Demon Hunters have a knockback, or or they have like a chokehold or something?
It's a stun. When you trample, you go in, you just like hardline in a direction. You can steer a bit, but as you run over top of people, you stun them for a bit. But it's Prot Warrior and Prot Paladin that have knocks when they charge, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Yeah, this guy is a guy. This player, it was fun. It was fun. We went for a while, but they finally got. I ran out of closures and ways to try to get them, and then they did me in. So that was fun. I like those world quests. I haven't seen if they have any down below in the cave. Do they have any in the caverns?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. I have not touched that area, to be honest.
What?
I know that. Well, I did it for like to get the sparks, but other than that, I generally don't go down there. It's a cool concept, though. I mean, I like the idea of having a underground zone, and I like those little marmots they have down there, like those creatures.
Yeah, the
Whatever
Nephin.
The Nephin, yeah.
Yeah, the Nephin from what's it, Midwest states or something.
Something. Probably live in Ohio. That's what people from Ohio look like. You know,
Whoa!
they design those around.
Right. Anybody who lives in Ohio, your hate mail you can send to at Bigmoran on Twitter. All right.
That's right.
All right, guys. Honestly, I think this has been one of my funnest episodes to do with you guys.
It's just the three of us.
Just jawing it though, right? Just talking about it.
Exactly.
Almost lost track of the show there at the beginning. Not sure if it's almost an hour and a half gone and we haven't even done half the show. I'm gonna ask though, just because we always ask. I'm gonna start with you, Big. What's one thing you would change in season 2? Big?
Oh, sorry. I muted my mic. My bad. I was gonna say I'm not biased at all, but we were talking about rewards, and I really think that 2v2 needs some sort of unique reward as well. I whether people might disagree, but I think like something like Gladiator, if not Gladiator, should be accessible through 2v2. I don't understand why 3v3 is the only bracket that has the prestigious rewards. So if Solo Shuffle has a title and a mount, I don't know why 2v2 shouldn't. So that's what I would change. I want some 2v2 super prestigious rewards.
Nice. All right. Jake.
I think I've already touched on what I would change. And it's on a similar note to Big. I do think that we should see more rewards, more whatever that might be, come in. And I think that should be like the idea that I came up with, which was basically flying mount for 3v3 and then ground mounts for 2v2, solo shuffle, RPG, just different shades of them, and then add like armor or things as the seasons progress and stuff like that.
Okay.
Something along those lines. I think that would be I think that'd be fun. That'd be insane.
I would I should have two. But I think I would remove the map pools. I think they've been more harm than good.
Ooh.
Get rid of the map pool rotation.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like certain maps in general. Like I don't think it's, to me, I'm not bothered by the rotation as much as just the fact that people unanimously hate some of the maps, like Blade's Edge, obviously, Mugambala. I mean, those two maps specifically are a nightmare for solo shuffle as a healer. Especially Mugambala. I don't know what it is on that map, but some people just do not know where to go, like at all. Even Warlock, like sometimes Warlocks just put their forts and gates in really terrible positions. Jake, I'm looking at you, Jake. Don't you ever put your port and gate in a weird place on the map.
No, I always put my gate in the best place as well as my ports. That can't be me.
Yeah.
It might be me.
From a healer point. Yeah.
Do I need to send in my gameplay for a review to Skill Cap just to prove it?
Oh, you could. Gelu can give a look at your Warlock gameplay.
Oh, no.
But no, I feel like it's just some maps that suck. It's not necessarily the map rotation. It's the map rotation with the bad maps is what it makes bad. It's honestly, I'm trying to think, are there any other bad maps?
I think it depends on what comp you're playing. Like there's some people that love Blade's Edge, some people hate it.
I love Blade's Edge, for example, because as a playing Shaman or anything with a knock, it's perfect for kiting melee. It's perfect for most of those things. I like Blade's Edge as a Warlock because I can also pull back up if I jump off, for example. Like there are a lot of things that I like about it. I just think it's not the best. Like it's definitely old style. It's the same way I don't personally like Lordaeron that much. Like it's just old style of maps that are kind of a bit grim. They should kind of be open field. They should be sort of accessible.
Do you like the new Enigma then? The Enigma Crucible?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah, I don't mind that one.
Okay.
I don't mind that one at all.
I just realized they don't have Robodrome in Solo Shuffle.
Nope.
Which is interesting because I think that's a pretty good map. I don't know. Yeah, they don't have Robodrome, they don't have Hook Point, and is there one other that they don't have? What are we missing? I feel like there's just a lot of maps.
Yeah, there is a lot of arena maps. I think there's some that need to be retired. Anyway, that'll be for next time.
Check out next episode where we talk about which maps need to be retired and everything else.
Oh,
that's right.
All right. Before that, though, let's talk about the events that are coming up.
Get in there and fight! Stop hiding!
All right. The only events that I'm aware of at this time are the upcoming official Blizzard events. Finally have the dates for it. So Cup 1 of the AWC starts on the 16th. No, that's right. The 16th to the 18th of June. Cup 2 is the 23rd. Cup 3 is the 30th of June. And then Cup 4 is the 7th of July. And then right after that, we're going to roll into the Great Push. Well, actually, I guess there's a bit of a break. Then it's going to start on the 21st of July. Group 2 is the 28th of July. And then Group C is the 4th of August. And all those, as I said, well, if you listen to us talk with Adrian there at Healing Stat, that's all going to be Great Push weekends. And then I'm assuming the teams that come out on top of those three groups, or some section of the teams out of those, are going to go to the grand finals. Same with, again, points rewards based off of the 4 cups of AWC is going to cause an invitee list to the AWC grand finals. The dates for all of that, the grand finals, are to be confirmed. We don't have them yet. What do you think? Do you guys think that's going to happen at BlizzCon, or do you think that's going to be August? August to November is quite the span. I don't think they're going to wait that long.
I don't think so. I doubt that we're going to... I think personally what they're going to do is they're going to... I think it's just going to be one of those sort of ones where they might do a BlizzCon final in person, but it'll be like for the last of an expansion. I think that's what they should do. They should have BlizzCon finals for AWC in person in a LAN sort of situation for like the finals of everything. You know, like the finals of all the, the end of expansion, everything. Like it should be, that's what it should be.
Okay.
Well, looking back at the past, it looks like for instance, 2016, the regionals happened in October 2016. In 2011, the regionals actually happened in August. So it's not unheard of to have the regional tournaments, NA, EU, in the other regions, so far apart from BlizzCon. So maybe we'll see those teams who compete in the finals get funneled into some sort of BlizzCon championship. I'd be surprised if there would be a third season, but I mean, there certainly could be, because that is kind of, as you mentioned, a decent gap. Like, what did we say the finals will be? There is no finals date.
We don't know. Yeah, we don't know yet.
Interesting.
I'm assuming that they're going to happen in August. I'm assuming.
Yeah. In which case, yeah, that is kind of an awkward time gap between then and BlizzCon.
I mean, I could see them do it in September and then scrape the top winners from season 1 and season 2 based on points or something, and put them into a grand final, or put them into like a regional and then a grand final. More likely, I'm thinking it might be more of an exhibition match. Like they might invite some certain groups and have them do an exhibition match, but otherwise it's not going to be for a cup. It's not going to be like the AW. It's not going to be what the AWC used to be.
Boo! I want a BlizzCon. I want a high stakes.
Yeah, that's what I want too.
Well, we'll see. I don't know. I mean, guys, we talked to Adrian and he didn't say any of this, right? Like he didn't tell he we asked him about LAN, and what did he say? Well, we're thinking about it. Where things are in the bada. But we'll see. We'll see. All right. Anyway, nothing was confirmed at the time. Here we go. We got this. Obviously, BlizzCon is announced, so we know that's happening, which is awesome. And hopefully, we'll get some more events, some more tournaments to put up there from the community. In the meantime, let's talk about the news and what has happened before we roll this out.
All right. Who ordered up an extra large can of whoop ass?
All right. So we talked recently. There was the DBX Wrath of the Lich King Arena tournament that happened on the 12th to the 13th of May. So congratulations out to Minpoike, Chanimal, and Baka for winning that one. That was actually really well done. It was for it really had a lot of great gameplay, and it kind of again showcased exactly why we have things like dampening. But it was fun to watch some classic Wrath gameplay. I think that was really awesome.
Yeah, I watched it as well. I thought I was really impressed with the quality of it, and obviously you had Ven and Super T's casting, so it was all very professionally done. I think the production team did such a great job. It was really, really enjoyable. So it was great to see some interest.
Indeed. I watched part of it, but unfortunately I couldn't sit and watch the whole thing. I still have to go back and watch a bunch of the VODs. Anyway, let's see your hot fixes. Well, we already talked. There's a night bug that got hot fixed, which is awesome. There's a bunch of targeted buffs to mostly on the PvE side. I think they're meant. That happened way back on the 15th, so just over a week ago. Like Death Knight's got a buff. Demon Hunter's got a slight buff. Again, what else? There's some mix and matches. Affliction got a 3% buff across the board. I don't think that really helped me very much, though. I still sucked. And then PvP wise, there were some very specific PvP ones. Nothing really game breaking though. I don't see anything that really took somebody down a tier. I don't know. Big, you're the one that tracks tiers and nerfs and buffs. Did anything from the 15th really impact the tier list at all?
I don't think so too much. I mean, maybe the mage buff was really, even though it was only a 4% damage bonus to Frost Mage, I mean, that certainly helps. Yeah, I don't know. Geez, I know, because what's funny is I made a video about this, and I don't, I know. I mean, I think that the significant thing is, yeah, they were trying with these Frost DK changes to sort of rebalance the way Frost DK plays. Currently, if you go into a Frost DK who knows what they're doing, they'll interact with you for about 6 seconds at a time, and then they'll just run away, and then wait to interact with you again. And so I think these changes are trying to, at least a Frost DK is trying to get them to maybe stay in the fight a bit more and rebalance that. What's crazy to me is I know they nerfed that Demon Hunter Rain from Above talent, but that thing was hitting so hard week 1 of the season. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Like I saw a Twitch clip of a Demon Hunter hitting someone for 125k each hit, which they can do like every second and probably faster than that with enough haste. And they're doing like, 200k DPS just from launching a bolt from the sky. Yeah, pretty nuts.
Well,
but yeah.
Okay. Nothing really jumping out at you otherwise, though, eh?
No, not really.
All right. Well, hopefully, I mean, as we talked about throughout the podcast, there are some outliers. There are some specs that still need maybe a little bit of a lift up, and definitely some that need to be less S tier. We'll say it that way.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll see some more tweaks coming in the near future. Maybe it doesn't have to happen, and because everything's based off of Max Geary, and we're not there yet. So we'll see. Hey, president of Blizzard there, the Mike Quick Ybarra, he did make a fun little poll over on Twitter. I don't know if you guys voted for this, but he was asking if the Battle.net friends list needs to be changed or not, and it's a resounding 56% asked for it to go beyond 200 people. So not sure if that actually means it's going to translate to anything, but yeah, that happened. I don't know about when I was really PvPing really hard, especially in Legion, I definitely ran into the 200 friend limit very quickly, just trying to build enough people to play RPGs with and get PvP and all that. What about you guys? Did you run into that list that limit at all?
Yeah.
100%. Definitely got it more when I started doing PvP a bit, like a sort of like a higher sort of threshold, just because of the fact that there's so many people that you meet and you're like, oh, this person's good and this person's good, and then you kind of finally get them involved, and it just fills up. It really does fill up.
Yeah. 200 really isn't that very. It really isn't that much when you think about how big our servers are. Really.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, classic hardcore servers. Those got announced. That was really cool, actually. One of the devs showed up on the hardcore stream when they were doing their dungeon run to announce that they're actually did the best well kept secret. I don't think anybody saw this coming at all. If you guys saw it or not, but yes, officially, classic is going to get hardcore servers. So you're not going to have an ad. You don't have to use an add-on or anything once that goes up. I think they're going to be on the PTR shortly to test. But the intent is that once they go live, you make a character on it, you play. When you die, that character's gone. You can't go back to it. I'm not going to play that.
Yeah, I think it's a fun little gimmick, but I have better ways to spend my time in my. I don't mind watching other people do that, but I personally do not like the feeling of questing and having my character be deleted if I die.
I think I definitely would play like a new classic fresh. Definitely do that.
Yeah.
Definitely level that. But I don't want to do it, and if my character's just going to suddenly, like, if I die, like, it's just going to suddenly implode, you know?
Yeah.
Ditto. I watched a clip of Josito playing.
Oh yeah.
And he was down typing something, and he was auto running, and he ran off a cliff and died.
The classic.
Yep. I would honestly, I would die because I'd AFK with flying somewhere and fly off the map and die. That'd be me. We already talked BlizzCon being announced 3rd and the 4th of November. Ticket sales to be announced. I personally can't go. I don't have the means this year. Jake, I remember seeing you say that you're not going, obviously for a multitude of reasons.
Yeah, I would love to have gone. I think I really would have loved to, but it's not feasible for me this time.
All right. And how about Big? Are you going to be able to go, or are you going to stay home?
Oh, the plan is to go. Someone who I know already bought the hotel or reserved the hotel, so I have the intentions of going. So
all right.
It's crazy. It's been 4 years since the last BlizzCon, and I met you there one of those years. I don't remember what year that was, but that was a while ago. It was 2018, maybe. Could have been 2017. I don't remember.
It was 17 or 18. It was one of the two, because those are the only two I went to.
Yeah. Good times.
Yeah, that was great. It was like, you messaged me like, "Hey, let's meet up," and I'm like, I'm waiting for my ride to go to the airport. It's like I'm glad we chatted though. That was awesome.
I remember what shoes I was wearing to meet you. I had the leopard print shoes on. I remember walking to your. It was a decent walk. I walked to get to you.
I had no idea. Wow, I had no idea, man.
I traveled on foot with my leopard print shoes to meet Gerissar in the lobby of a hotel, and we took a picture.
Oh my gosh, I saw the picture too. It is awesome. I think
Good.
I do cherish the moment. I cherish the thought. I had no idea you walked the whole way though. That's crazy.
I definitely need to see this picture. I've not seen this picture.
It's the most nerd type picture of two guys in a hotel lobby taking a selfie. It was awesome.
Well, that's exactly why I need to see it.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I'll put it up on our Discord. All right. Well, honestly, then I guess we'll have to figure something out. I know for myself, I will most likely be buying the live stream event the BNet there, the BlizzCon event, so I can watch it at home. So maybe we'll do something on the Discord. Maybe we'll have to do something there. For those of us who can't go, we'll have to live vicariously through the official stream and through whatever information Big gives us from the ground. Be on our on-ground reporter, right?
Yes. We're here at the pool, and it appears Noodle is here as well.
Oh, Noodle's playing with a pool noodle. Oh no. Oh no. All right.
So, Noodle, how many girls have you chatted up today, and how many have rejected you?
Oh gosh.
The answer to that question would be yes.
Yes. No other explanation needed.
Oh, Noodle. Oh, Noodle. Quick question. I'm going to throw this one first to you, Big. The 10.1.5, that thing that WoW reported on, the holding out for a healer buff, where they're looking to add 25% more conquest and honor gain to try to prioritize solo shuffle for healers or get more healers in there. What do you think?
I mean, it doesn't entice me. I can maybe this will entice people who do not actively PvP, or at least who I saw someone on Twitter post, like it was a PvE player. They say that they like to queue solo shuffle, but they only do it until they get their cap and then they stop. So it seems like people like to just queue it for the rewards, and I guess this makes the rewards a bit more enticing. I don't know, but I mean, definitely the field medics hazard that they introduced was a joke. Like, I get that in my box, I'm annoyed that I have to right click it and get, the mark of honor that comes with it. I think just like, honestly, do you know what PvP needs? It needs more gold rewards. You can't make gold as a PvP unless you do some nefarious things.
You mean coaching?
Oh.
Yeah, coaching, yes, something like that. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'd be down if they just gave you, I don't know, like 5,000 gold for your solo shuffle. I'd be like, oh my god, yes. That enticed me more than this.
All right. I mean, I've heard people talk about it throughout the community about how fast it just means that people are going to cap faster. Like, I was talking with I can't remember who I was talking to, but they're like, I only heal to get to conquest cap, so that just means I cap faster. And I'm like, well, what about your friends you're playing with? And they're like, yeah, so like, okay. But somebody did point out this is a .5 PTR, and historically that's usually when they also do things like remove conquest caps and bring in conquest boxes. So it's possible that argument is moot, and we're basing it off of .1 and not .5 mentality.
Speaking of which, I mean, they're probably going to uncap conquest again here soon. I think they did it last season at the 5-week mark, which I think is typically when you start having full conquest. So maybe they're going to do that again this season. I haven't heard any word about that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that'd be. We'll see. Our friend Lika made a fun Twitter thread for a hypothetical dev interview. Since we weren't getting any PvP dev interviews, they're like, "Hey, what would you ask a dev if?" Yeah, it was fun. Go check the link in the show notes, or just go follow Lika. It was pretty good. Kind of wish I'd thought of it. Wrath Classic now has WoW token to try to counter all the gold buying there. Honestly, a little too late, I think, for what it's done to the economies there. But do you guys think this is going to do anything for the PvP side? I don't know.
I don't think it's going to do much. I don't think it really is a big deal.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see. I think a lot of people are just going to take all the gold that they took from gold DKP runs and everything they bought, and it's not going to make much of a difference. One other thing, I don't know if anybody saw, so if you have a main on or an alt over at Wrath Classic, they went ahead and put a plus 50% experience buff. So ahead of the Call of the Crusade patch. So if you aren't at max level You log in, you're going to have a much faster time getting to max level ahead of Call of the Crusade. All right, that's it for the news. We got a few minutes. Jake, I know we're running a little late here. Do you want to do cooldown moment, or do you want to just pop Ghost Wolf and run?
You know what? I know it's late, but I'm good at taking one for the team, so we'll definitely do the cooldown moment.
All right, let's do this. Yar. Cooldown moment. All right, so this one decided to talk about Void Eruption. Shadow Priest ability, 2-minute cooldown, 40-yard range, minute or second and a half cast time. Release an explosive blast of pure void energy, activating void form and causing some formula of shadow damage to all enemies within 10 yards. During void form, this ability is replaced by Void Bolt, and casting Devouring Plague increases the duration of void form by 2.5 seconds. Neat. So obviously when they pop this, so they go void form instantly and does a whole bunch of damage. Not the greatest of range. I guess you could probably outrun this. Is this really that dangerous? Is this more like is this something that's gonna end the game if a Shadow Priest pops this?
I don't. To be honest with you, I don't actually know too much about Shadow Priest at the minute. I have no idea whether or not this is as good as it was. But before it was actually pretty fun, and it was a really good like instant cast sort of option.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's so typically if you see a priest playing this, that means they're a AoE damage focused priest because it shares a talent slot with Dark Ascension, which I think is a bit more common. So Dark Ascension is the 1 minute pop, and usually they play that with Mindbender. And I think Void Eruption, you can expect to see a lot more spread pressure with Void Eruption. And yeah, and the other thing you have to look out for is Void Volley if they're playing that, because whenever they that's a PvP town. If they Void Eruption or Dark Ascension, they'll start sending out those Void Volleys, which will stun you for a few seconds. We were talking about Micro CC, that's another one.
Yeah.
The Void Volley stun. So it's good in general to just be away from the priest because they might have a Void Volley. And then I think in the past it was always better to not necessarily kick the Void Eruption cast, but to just try to interrupt the priest when they're in void form. Because you can kick the Void Eruption, and that means now the kick is going to be on cooldown for when they actually do their damage during Void form. But typically they're probably going to be throwing out some instant casts, Void Bolts, and casting DP and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's an interesting cooldown because it's like in some ways like high impact.
Mm-hmm.
If the priest can get a lot of AoE, pressure going during it, but it's not as scary as something like, I don't know, Avenging Wrath, where you just kind of feel the pressure instantly. It's a bit more slow than other cooldowns.
See, thinking about that, this would probably be much more impactful in a RBG or in a BG setting in some sort of in the team scrum, right?
yeah, I think it would be, but there are way better AoE abilities out there. For example, Starfall. It's just like the problem is that this ability isn't good enough for someone to go, yeah, you know what, I'll take the Shadow Priest over this Boomkin.
Fair. So
I think the important thing is, though, if you see a priest playing this, they're just wanting to pad damage. They're playing a very damage focused, AoE damage focused build. So they're not going to be scary like every 1 minute like the Dark Ascension builds are. They're going to be a bit more roddy, like a traditional AoE Shadow Priest.
okay.
Yeah, it's for me, Void Form is kind of like from having played it a little bit in the first season, is that there's definitely like I would play this if I've got melee on me, because I'd play Void Origins, and I'd be able to basically instant cast this Void form, get the Void Volley out, and then also at the same time be able to instant cast my Void Bolts, which is extra damage.
Okay. How do you play against it then? Like, do you just run out of range? Because it's only 10-yard range, right?
I think Big kind of summarized it really. Like, you try and hit other things, kick other things, stop other things. You can CC people on it.
True.
There's lots of different things you can do.
You wanna lock them on Shadow after they've casted Void Eruption, because that's going to be when you get the most value out of your interrupts. And then, of course, as we said, spreading out to avoid Void Volley if they're playing Void Volley is always a good idea. You don't want to get hit by those micro CC crystals flying through the air.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. Okay, well, in that case, that's that. That's a neat ability. You may or may not see it. Probably not from the sounds of it, because there's other things to play and other classes that are better, like Bumpkins.
Exactly.
All right. Quick time for shoutouts. I'm going to go to you first, Big.
Jeez Louise. Who should I shout?
Never prepared.
Shout out to Big Mix, because he's a very nice guy. Shout out to Big Mix. And he streams. Mm-hmm. You can find him at twitch.tv/BigMixWow. Generally a good character to watch, playing Survival Hunter, running around, hitting people. And sometimes he plays Guitar Hero too in between queues, and it's really impressive. So definitely watch him do all of his fancy stuff.
Is he doing VOD reviews too?
I'm gonna try to get him to do one this week for YouTube. Yeah, it's a possibility.
Okay,
we'll see.
I saw something about that. All right.
Yeah.
So if you're a hunter listening and you want your VOD reviewed,
send it to me, and then I'll send it to him.
Yes. Jake.
I am going to shout out my pals Trepaneski because they asked me to, and they said it'd be really cringe. So I hope you guys are cringing if you're listening. So shout out to them, mostly for also being good lads and sticking by me and giving me some entertainment during these lonely days.
Oh my god, that is cringe. All right. I say something that isn't cringe. I just reminded everybody that we do have merch available over on the Bonus Roll Productions. So if you guys want to wear some sweet, technically PvP shirts and gear, head on over there, and you'll find the links at bonusroll.gg. They'll to their t-shirt site, and you can buy some there. It helps out Bonus Rolls and helps out us. All right. That's my shout outs. Big. Why don't we list wherever everybody can find us and we can get out of this.
Oh, absolutely. I can do that. So you can contact us directly with a tweet to @technically_PvP or by an email to technicallypvp@gmail.com. You can also join our discussions on the Bonus Roll Productions Discord.
Also, you can visit the Bonus Roll website to find the podcast directory with us and many other great shows at www.bonusroll.gg. This directory also has a review system, so head over there and tell everyone what you think of your favorite shows, including our own.
Indeed. And as always, links for everything we talked about is going to be in the show notes. I want to thank everyone for listening, and we'll chat with you next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
See ya.